Well, Adi Kanalik set to kick it away. The sophomore out of Fort Worth, Texas. He is one of the best at getting it into the end zone, and Geddes watches it fly over his head. Let's take a look at today's Craftsman tools for success.
I think starting with Nebraska, they have to find something to spark them offensively. We talked about quarterback Cody Green. We'll see if that is the answer. Defensively, Nebraska has to defend the pass downfield. That's been their nemesis. They're great everywhere else. Downfield throws is a problem. Baylor, they have to utilize that speed offensively. We've already hit on that. Get the ball to your playmakers. And then they also have to minimize the defensive pressure. Carl Pelini talks about offenses deadening that pressure. They get rid of the ball quickly, and they don't let Nebraska's pressure become effective.
Well, right away, Florence is going to empty the backfield, has 5 wide receivers, Geddes in motion. Looks for the quick slant in, and it is caught up to the 24-yard line to Kendall Wright. Let's take a look at Baylor's offensive line. They've been moving people around. True freshman Ivory Wade will get his 3rd start at left guard. He's going to be matched against Jared Crick of Nebraska.
We can already see that one of the things Art Briles is going to do is go hurry up, not only the no huddle, but hurry to the line of scrimmage. He hasn't been willing to do that with Nick Florence yet.
On a defense, 5-yard penalty. It makes the line to gain 1st down.
Let's take a look and continue to look at our freecreditreport.com starting lineups, wide receivers, and skill positions.
A lot of speed on the field for this group right here, but Jay Finley also in that running game is getting healthy. Very important.
Now Nebraska making changes defensively. We were told that Nebraska wanted to slow it down. Main reason is opponents in Big 12 play about 84 plays a game to only about 60 for them. Florence on the run. He gets up to about the 33-yard line. Let's take a look at the Nebraska defense, the most frugal defense since the black shirts of 1999, and the defensive line an outstanding quartet. Over 130 tackles between the 4 of them, and the linebacker's pretty good too.
Yeah, I really like Dillard. He actually is back in the starting lineup, moving from the middle over to the weak side.
Now Jay Finley joins Florence in the backfield from the I formation. 2nd down and 6, ball on the 34-yard line. And we got a whistle on the far side of the field.
And Ron, you can already see that Art Briles wants to go with this very much a fast up-tempo type of approach.
Yeah.
Nick Florence was what was holding them back from doing that in the past. That's his Art Briles' style for sure.
Well, no foul, so they're just going to reconvene, and we'll do it again. Art Briles, I asked him on Thursday, are you going to have any bullets left in your chamber after this game? And he smiled and said, no.
And Ron, you can already sense out of Art Briles, this team, there's a sense of urgency that we didn't see last week when we were in here.
There was no tempo last week in the game versus Oklahoma State. Here's Florence putting it up again, going deep, and that's going to be well overthrown. Intended receiver was Geddes. He threw into double coverage.
Ron, that's one of the things that Carl Pelini told us, that is when they get David Geddes, one of those speed guys, true track type of speed, when he gets downfield in a vertical release, they want to get him underneath and over the top, and you can see on that play he was doubled by Asante over the top and Amukamara underneath.
Now the last 4 games, only 28% on 3rd down for Baylor. They need 6. Sampson and Smith on the far side, and Kendall Wright also. Florence looking right, throws over the middle behind the intended receiver Wright, who takes a shot from Larry Asante.
Asante comes in late, and certainly the fans here at Baylor thought it was a late hit, but this is also what the receivers need to do a better job of. That was a bad throw. It was behind Wright on that pass by Florence, and then you saw the vicious, somewhat late hit by Asante.
But that is exactly what Baylor was hoping wouldn't happen. Their first drive come up with nothing. Now Derek Epperson, one of the best in college football punting, the junior out of Southlake, Texas, Keller High School, set to kick it away to Niles Paul, standing back at his 15-yard line. And the punt is blocked up in the air. Epperson has a chance at him inside the 10-5. Touchdown, Nebraska. Justin Blatchford takes the ball out of midair and rambles it in. Nebraska burned on a fake punt last week. They have a big special teams play this week. It looked like Eric Martin, the true freshman, got a piece of that punt. And we've got a stoppage. Let's see if they're going to review it. It is going to be reviewed.
I think what certainly they're going to review is whether Blatchford, after he caught that punt in midair, whether he stepped out on the sideline before he got it into the end zone. But Eric Martin coming in right there, one of those young linebackers out there on the special teams, and then Blatchford taking it to the house. The question is, does he step out of bounds? Looks like a very good job of finishing off that play and getting into the end zone.
What a heads-up play by Blatchford. Soon as he heard the block, he immediately looked up in the air.
That's a
very heads-up play.
Yeah, great point.
Find
the football. You hear that double thump, the thump of the punter's foot, and then the thump of it getting blocked, and then Blatchford locates it in midair, catches the ball, and tries to get it in the end zone. But you referred to that fake punt last week.
On the field is confirmed. Touchdown.
That fake punt last week by Iowa State that really was a thorn in Nebraska's side all week. That ended up being the difference in the game, but kind of switching gears here today.
Well, you know, it's funny. You and I were talking to Mike Eckler, the linebackers coach and works with special teams. He said he was physically sick, that he called the wrong return or punt last week, punt coverage last week. And he said, we're going to do something today. And he was absolutely right. Alex Henry kicks the extra point. So Nebraska needs less than a minute and a half to get the first 7 on the board over Baylor. Last win for Baylor on Halloween, 1953, when they beat TCU. And already they're down 7-0 here in the first quarter. Their first for Nebraska's punt return block for a touchdown since 2004. Justin Blatchford, the redshirt freshman out of Ponca, Nebraska. Here's Adi Kanalik again. Terrence Williams deep, and this will also go out of the end zone. Tonight, the PBR World Finals continue on. Versus can leader Cody Lostra hang on and claim his #1 gold buckle? Or will Gil Ermey, Marchie, J.B. Mooney, and the world's toughest Cowboys knock them off? The PBR World Finals continue tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Well, Kelly, I think if you're a Baylor fan right now, you're saying one of the worst case scenarios is falling behind. You really don't have the offense, at least in the last 3 games, to come from behind.
Well, they've been challenged, absolutely, to get points in any way. So getting behind early is certainly not a good thing.
Here's Salubi. Check that. It's Florence on the carry. Alfonso Dennard on the stop. This Nebraska defense is so good. It all starts up front.
And Dominican Sue is the real deal, and we can already see that Art Briles is willing to let Nick Florence get involved in that run game. Art Briles wants to get the running game going early.
Well, when you think you only have one other quarterback behind him, that's a little bit of rolling the dice.
It really is. Exposing your quarterback to this Nebraska defense is not a good idea.
Pass is tipped at the line of scrimmage. Jared Crick. You know, we talk about Ndamukong Suh so much, but we forget about the sophomore Crick. Ndamukong Suh told us a few weeks ago that he thinks that Crick has moved to the second level of thinking.
Yeah, Crick doing a nice job of just making eye contact with the quarterback and getting his hands up. But that position, kind of that 3-technique tackle beside Ndamukong Suh, is somewhat like winning the lottery. You know that Suh's going to get double, sometimes triple teamed almost every play. Crick is one-on-one almost every play as well. 3rd down and 5. Nebraska will only rush 4 as Florence throws it out into the flat. Pass is completed and fumbled. They're calling it a completed pass, and they'll mark it out at about the 38-yard line. That will move the chains. Ernest Smith just couldn't hold on to it, but it's still good enough for a first. And once again, seeing Nick Florence get the football, get it out quickly. Nice, accurate pass to Smith, and the accuracy is supposed to be Nick Florence's strong suit. Art Briles needs Nick Florence to be accurate today. Well, it is a first down, according to our referee today, Rick Lumiere, a fine Cajun man. Baylor just isn't holding the ball very long at all. Nick Lawrence is getting the snap, resetting his feet, getting the ball out. Defensive coordinator from Nebraska, Carl Pelini, calls that, you know, a deadening effect. Nebraska wants to be aggressive and have their pressure affect the quarterback, but you deaden that as an offense by getting rid of that football quickly.
Well, Lawrence will go from the shotgun and the right in motion. And he's got the football around the right side of the 40-yard line and scampers out at the 41-yard line. Kendall Wright, who had such an incredible year last year, talking to Art Browse on Thursday, he said, you know, I just think his karma's been off this year. Can't say I've ever heard a football coach use the word karma, but Kendall Wright told me he's challenged himself for this game.
Yeah, he really hasn't had the year that he had a year ago, but he had a great mesh with Robert Griffin, the quarterback, obviously, that is out for the season with that ACL. So sometimes that affects that speed guy outside.
Second down and short. We call it 3 inside of 12 minutes remaining in quarter number 1. Here's Finley. He's had some ankle problems, quad problems, and he will be dropped for a big loss. You know, we talk about Robert Griffin, just exactly what he's meant to this offense. A tremendous game last year against Nebraska, but here is what he's meant to this team.
Yeah, just look at the record, but the rush yards, I think, are the big thing. Art Briles wants to establish every game plan by running the football early, and that opens up the passing game. And you can see the pass yards because they had to throw it without Griffin in there. But, yeah, he's the real deal, and they miss him horribly.
Well, trips to the right, one wide receiver to the left, 3rd down and 6 after the loss of 3.
This is the matchup that Baylor wants to get to, but Nebraska's going to try to get over the top in that matchup.
They're going at the cornerback, throw it high up in the air, intended for Willie Jefferson, the 6'6 freshman. And it's knocked away, and Nebraska, the defensive player, Dennard, is down at the 35-yard line.
Dennard is in there, the young corner starting in place of Anthony West, who has been the starter at that position. But when Baylor goes that 3-by-1, they try to isolate the single receiver to one side, but Carl Pelini wants to get a safety over the top when that receiver releases vertical like Willie Jefferson did on that play.
We're going to take a break while they check out Alfonso Dennard, the sophomore out of Rochelle, Georgia. We'll be back to Baylor in a moment. Just a couple of miles up I-35, the campus of Baylor University, a very beautiful campus, including their new football facility up there, which is outstanding. We hope to show you that a little bit later, but right now the Bears trail Nebraska 7-0, 10:58 in the first. The first punt of the game was blocked and taken back for a touchdown by Nebraska. Epperson will try it again. Here comes the rush again, and it is not a good kick. And he'll take a Nebraska bounce inside the 30-yard line down to about the 28-yard line. Let's check in with Lewis Johnson.
Ron Baylor's starting quarterback, Nick Lawrence, committed to Baylor back in 2008, but he didn't enroll until January of 2009. And in between, he needed a job. And of all things, he found a gig as a window washer. Okay, so we asked him to show me the art of window washing. You've got to have the right equipment. You know, I learned that the squeegee is really probably the most important thing, and you got to have that nice sweeping motion that Lawrence really seems to have down. I didn't do too well. He said that his first gig was cleaning the windows of a big mansion. He was pretty nervous about it.
Thanks, man.
And said he really learned also that, you know, his life has been football. That's been his job, and he knows at some point he's going to have to leave us behind and get a real job.
you were streaky in your window washing.
Yeah, and I hope that's what my wife saw, because I don't want that to be on the honey-do list.
Go.
Okay, I'm not any good at that.
Roy Hello Jr. on the first carry of the afternoon, and we saw Cody Green, the true freshman out of Dayton, Texas, about 3 hours away from Waco. He has brought a couple of busloads of people, including his high school football coach, Jerry Stewart. He said, I know after the game, Coach Stewart's just going to tell me what I did wrong. But he is an exciting freshman, a true dual threat at that quarterback spot. Zach Lee not getting the start today. On 2nd and 6. Green's first pass a little bit low. Let's take a look at Nebraska's offense. Scoreless 8 of the last 12 quarters in Big 12 play. The line one senior. Jacob Hickman dinged up last week. He's going to be alternating with Mike Caputo at center and in the skill positions.
Well, we know about Cody Green, but Helu Jr. starting to get healthy once again. Sean Watson wants to pound the football and look for them to try to do that here today, especially with the young quarterback in there.
Keep an eye on Kyrie Cooper for Nebraska, number 6, getting the start, the redshirt freshman out of Shreveport, Louisiana. We had a flag on the play.
There is no foul on the play. The flag was thrown for offensive pass interference. However, the ball did not cross the line. 3rd down.
Okay, we did have a flag, just no fouls. We take a look at Bo Pelini. Very frustrated, but I tell you what, talking to him this week, Kelly, it was impressive. He said, listen, what's happened the last 2 weeks is on me. He took ownership of it.
Yeah, and his players know that he's going to do that. They can believe and have confidence that their head coach is, in a sense, going to have their back. And he says there's no time to panic. You can't improve if you're out there overreacting to things, and they know they have to do things better offensively, but he likes what he's seeing defensively.
Last 3 opening drive, no points and only 1 first down for the Huskers. Trying to change that. Here's Cody Green. He is dangerous when he runs. He turns on the speed, sees the seam, and gets over the 40 to about the 43-yard line before Jeremy Williams brought him down. Kelly, that's what you and I saw in the first game against Florida Atlantic, where he had that burst of 49 yards.
Well, and everything that happens before he gets out of the pocket probably isn't his strong suit as a young quarterback, but this is his strong suit right there, breaking down the defense with his feet. It's all instincts, Ron. Once the play's over and you have to try to keep it alive, that's where I think Cody Green is going to be at his best today.
6'4", 220 pounds. Here's Hello. Over the 45 to the 46-yard line. Let's take a look at the Baylor defense. 17 different players have started on the line. They plug in the middle is Trey Bryant. He's out of Dallas, Texas. And the linebackers, they make a lot of tackles, Kelly.
They're a good group, but I would look for this group to try to blitz more today, to try to rattle this young quarterback more than they normally do.
And in the secondary, Chance Casey, true freshman from Crosby, Texas. He's played well, and he's getting the start at cornerback as Nebraska calls a timeout. Nebraska takes a timeout, and so will we. Bo Pelini and company lead it by a touchdown. Offensive coordinator for Nebraska is Sean Watson. He is down on the field today. We haven't seen that since 07, and it's because of the young quarterback.
Yeah, I think it's the relationship that they have, and as a young quarterback, it's very comforting. You can look right into the eyes of your offensive coordinator. They can make adjustments on the run.
Cody Green gets up to midfield. That'll set up short yardage situation.
During the week, Sean Watson told us that at the very least, regardless of who was playing quarterback, they needed to get their quarterback into the run game more often. And you can see that now there's even more of an emphasis on it because Cody Green has that ability more than Zach Lee does. And you've already seen Cody Green with the ball in his hand running the ball here this afternoon.
Now Trey Robinson joins him in the backfield, and he's got the football, looking for some running room to the 45-yard line. That'll be good for a first down. Atchison and Pavelic on the stop. And one of the things they also told us, they are going to have a rotation at running back.
And where it starts is up front with that offensive line. You can see him coming off in that zone scheme, coming off in unison, trying to get to that second level. They're led by Jacob Hickman. He's that throwback type of Nebraska offensive lineman. Very mobile, but still very physical at the point of attack.
On 1st and 10, 7:50 left in the first. Green looks left, looks in the slant in, caught, close to a first down, ball is loose. Baylor says they have it, the official says it was down. Brandon Kinney on the reception, the sophomore out of Kansas City, only his 5th catch of the year.
Nebraska fans were thinking deja vu all over again.
Yeah.
They faked the bubble screen. Cody Green zips it into that slant route, and they called him down. It was very close, but this happened, what, 8 times last week, and there were some just like this, where it was a good throw, a good catch, and they fumbled it on the way down to the ground.
Well, the ground cannot cause a fumble in college football.
That's a great call right there.
Well, the guys to our right up in the booth are going to look at it again, and our Browse is hoping that there is a turnover. You know, we talked to him about it and said, listen, you know, your guys have to look at that game and say, wow, we got a shot at this. And he goes, no, we can't. We can't expect them to toss the ball around on the field like they did last week versus Iowa State.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thought because it doesn't happen very often. Nebraska had taken very good care of the ball coming into last week, so that was why it was so shocking to guys like Sean Watson. Just didn't expect that, but it was the way that they were fumbling the ball. Some were uncontested. Niles Paul is running down the field with a touchdown, a 74-yarder, and he fumbles it not once but twice on the same play.
Well, one of the things Sean Watson told us, they have to learn to fall with the ball, he was telling us. He said they work on ball security. They do it every week. They address the issue coming out of fall drills. 2 times a week they do ball security drills, and they have a circuit. They do it with wet balls.
How about that the monkey roll drill that he talked about? That I remember that drill. And flashing back a little bit, maybe we can get Lou and his 2 sons to demonstrate that on the field later. But what they do is you have a ball in each arm, and you have to roll and then jump over the next guy and stand up real quick. But with the ball in each arm, that would be incredibly hard to do.
Keep it high and tight, he told his receivers and his running backs when carrying the ball today. Well, let's get the word on the replay.
After further review, the play stands as called. First down.
Couldn't find anything to overturn it, in other words. So a pickup of 10 on the play.
There's a whole lot of people in red right now in the stadium saying, oh, maybe it's not like last week.
The football gods looking out. And you see the crowds. Nebraska people, they've got about half the stadium.
Right?
Yeah, you wouldn't know it. They were so much fun in the hotel last night, the Nebraska people. Green will put it up again. And he short hops it. Intended for Niles Paul. Could have hit the cutoff man.
And Niles Paul actually fell down coming out of his break, and I think Cody Green recognized that right as he's getting ready to pull the trigger and kind of took a little bit off and threw it into the ground.
Niles Paul coming out of camp, and you and I have talked about this extensively. He was the target guy, and the question was who would be behind him. And I don't think they've answered it this part of the season.
You're right. I think they're over mid-season now, and Sean Watson is still looking for guys to target the football to. And really what that means is in our pass game, who are we going to look to get into downfield?
Here's Robinson. He has stood up right at the line of scrimmage. Nice job by that defensive line of Baylor and also middle linebacker Joe Pavelik. It is a beautiful sunshiny day in Waco, Texas. Temperature in the high 50s, expected to go up to the high 60s today at Floyd Casey Stadium. Big 12 football. Nebraska leading Baylor after a block punt return for a touchdown, 7-0. Along with Kelly and Lewis, I'm Ron. Good to have you with us today. 3rd down and 9 for the Huskers. A deep drop, looking, plenty of time. Now he scrambles, trying to get to the outside, needs a block, doesn't get it, puts his head down as he gets inside the 30, and he is met straight up by Joe Pavelik and Chance Casey. He took a shot.
And you can see that Cody Green is used to running the football. He tucked it early, meaning I'm now a runner of the ball and not a passer. And right here, 6'4", 220, he's going to get after the defense. He's used to and comfortable running the football. I mean, that's Chance Casey, another true freshman, number 39 from Baylor, coming up to make that tackle. You better bring your lunch if you do that with Cody Green.
Alex Henry, a 45-yarder, 22 straight inside the 50-yard line, and make it 23 in a row inside the 50. Alex Henry, the most accurate field goal kicker in Nebraska history, even this early in his career. He gets the 3. Well, this season college football is on Versus.com. And we also have some good games coming up for you. Number 6 TCU visits San Diego State. That'll be coming up immediately following our game. 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central Time, right here on Versus.
I think TCU is that BCS buster. You can see right there the 7-0 record. They're running the football. They play great defense. You can see that very few teams are able to convert on 3rd down. They can't drive the ball. TCU has it all in their hands, Ron. I think they're headed to a big one if they can just take care of business.
Gary's done a great job at TCU.
I think on that last drive, drive, I think both sides of the field are happy. Nebraska and Cody Green's first 2 drives as a quarterback, they get points on the board, but Baylor found out a way to get off the field on 3rd and long. They haven't been good at that this year. They're 108th in the country, last in the conference at getting off the field, and they did a nice job on that drive.
Well, Baylor needs something. They haven't had a first quarter touchdown since their final non-conference game against Kent State. Terrence Williams set to receive. Alex kick, and for the 3rd time it'll go deep into the end zone. Well, he's 3 for 3 on kickoffs and touchbacks today. Well, we talked about the North at the top of our show, but the South standings, of course, all eyes are in Stillwater, Oklahoma tonight because the top 2 teams will be meeting, with the Longhorns taking on the Cowboys. Oklahoma, an outside shot at it. Texas Tech, very big game today also. A&M, big win last week. And, of course, Baylor standing at the bottom, 0-3 in conference play. 13 straight losing seasons for the Baylor Bears. And they're the only Big 12 team without a win over Nebraska in the last 6 years. Now they take over 1st and 10 from their own 20 with 5:43 left in the first. Finley being chased, gets away, gets the corner, and he is pushed out of bounds at about the 27-yard line. Pickup of 7 on the play for Finley. You know, one of the things we saw Finley last year, he really kind of broke out. He became more of a north-south runner. I think early on in his career, Kelly, he was kind of a jitterbug guy.
Well, you had the jitterbug guy in Robert Griffin, as we see Baylor once again taking a quick snap.
Not going anywhere is Ndamukong Suh on the stop.
But last year, Finley didn't have to play really the jitterbug type of guy because you had Robert Griffin in there. I think now with Griffin out, the run game has to find some way to get to the edges. That's what they've lacked. Finley got hurt. He's getting healthy. Look for our Browns to try to get Finley to the edge here today.
Now they bring in a couple of tight ends in Taylor and Akers. 3rd down and 2. Kendall Wright wide to the right. Lawrence looks for his tight end. They've got it to Justin Akers, the senior out of Deer Park, Texas. He gets the first down, his 14th reception of the year.
So what Baylor will do is they will spread you out, and they force the defense to play in space. But then Akers, that tight end, they do a nice job of using him against that nickel coverage. He's a big-bodied back. He can find those voids in that zone defense, and that was a good example of it on that play.
And a rather simple throw, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, and that's the key right now for Nick Florence.
Now Florence, no pressure. Here it comes. The defense moves up. Oh, he takes a hit as he throws it out, and there's going to be a penalty flag. Art Riles ran on the field. Gomes leveled Florence. I mean, that's a slobber knocker denture check. And boy, I tell you what, that was a dangerous hit by Gomes.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 99 of the defense. The penalty will be 15 yards.
Totally disagree with this call. I think Gomes, it isn't late and it's not head-to-head. If it's roughing the passer, that's not right.
Yeah.
The ball was still in the picture right there. I know you have to protect the quarterback and the defenseless player, but that's a poor call right there in my opinion.
He didn't lead with his head.
Absolutely. They didn't call helmet to helmet.
Yeah.
They called roughing the passer. That means it was late, and I think, or extracurricular, and it was neither as far as I'm concerned on that play.
And it wasn't on 99. Lawrence Kendall Wright with the snap, and he scampers out of bounds at about the 44-yard line. Eric Haig rushing him out of bounds.
We've seen some good examples of what we talked about at the top. Art Briles finding a way to get the ball to his speed guys. And Wright is that, and Smith is that. You have to find ways, Ron, especially in the run game. Bring those wide receivers into the backfield and let them carry the football that way.
Now Geddes goes wide to the right. Chris Burke joins him in the slot. At 2nd and 5. It leans forward, maybe got back to the line of scrimmage. Jared Crick already 2 tackles this afternoon.
Jared Crick doing a nice job of keeping his eye on the quarterback. And I think Nick Florence actually wasn't faking that pass. He wanted to get rid of it on the quick inside slant early. It wasn't there. Tried to get the first down. Jared Crick was buying none of it.
Well, we see the defensive tackles for Nebraska read the guards and they play the center, they like to say. Now it's 3rd down and 4.
This is where you really get nice one-on-one matchups out there with the safety not really close enough to help out.
And Art Briles had to call a timeout because Florence did not look up and see the play clock was down to 1. And so Baylor will be charged with a timeout. Now, coming up at halftime, stay tuned for the Nissan Heisman Watch. And I tell you, this far into the season, usually we have sort of a clear-cut favorite. I don't think we have one.
I don't think we do either. I still think that Colt McCoy, Texas, Tim Tebow at Florida have the inside track. I think they still have enough of the season, some big games remaining, where if they do something statistically, I think there's a sense out there those two guys are still the favorite. But I don't think if an offensive lineman, or excuse me, an offensive player, Ron, doesn't step up, why not throw Ndamukong Suh into the mix?
I'm waiting for somebody to bring up Toby Gerhart for Stanford. I think
that's a good example as well. The point is that the Heisman race is certainly wide open.
Now the situation, Nebraska facing 3rd down and 4, 3:17 to go in the opening quarter. And I would think this is one of those possessions you have to get something out of it. They go with 2 wide receivers to the right. Finley in the backfield. Florence on the run. Throws it right. Got it. He's got the first down to about the 34-yard line. So we talked about how Kendall Wright challenged himself coming into this game, and the former high school quarterback and freshman All-American has stepped up today.
Well, the inside receiver is right. He's just going to run an out route. The outside receiver, you can see right there, clears number 5 from Nebraska, Anthony West, out, and so there's nobody out in that flat area.
And we've got another timeout. I think they're going to review this play also. That'll be our 3rd review.
Wow.
Now we got to mention, though, the last couple of weeks they've had false alarm pages to the referee, and we talked to the Big 12 officials prior to the game, and they said we hope we had it fixed, but a lot of time the referee was being paged, but it really wasn't, and I think that's going to be the case here. They got to send the entire unit in to fix it.
There was no review. It was a malfunction of the pager system. First down.
Fans aren't going to like that. It's a little disruptive for the players. The fans don't like it, but I think it messes with the rhythm of the game. But what can you do about it? I think the system as a whole is working fine, but let's find a new pager.
It's been 3 weeks.
You're exactly
it's
right.
Like, come on. It's broken, fix it. So now Baylor will have it 1st and 10, ball on the 33-yard line. Just about 3 minutes left to go in quarter number 1. Nebraska changing personnel on defense. 3 wide receivers now to the left as Art Briles again spreads things out. The empty backfield. Florence pumps right, and he is going to be dropped back at the 37-yard line by Jared Crick. 3 tackles and a sack today for Crick so far. That is sack number 4.5 for him on the year.
Well, Baylor is trying to find a way to get down the field, and this is the fake bubble screen. This receiver's going to clear out. You have the bubble screen over on the other side. Florence wants to go deep off the pump fake. Nebraska does a nice job of defending the quick pass, and then obviously the defensive line in Nebraska gets to Florence.
5 wide receivers set. Florence sees pressure again. Throws it up for right, and it's going to be intercepted. Dijon Gomes, the junior out of Hayward, California, who had the personal foul penalty. He comes up with the pick. That is his 2nd in a Nebraska uniform.
Defensive coordinator Carl Pelini told us, Ron, during the week that the speed of Baylor really scares him. He didn't sleep a whole lot because Nebraska's had their issues defending the deep pass. So he said every time they get someone going vertical, you'll see the route coming in from the right on the deep post pattern, but look at the 2 Nebraska defenders, one over the top and Gomes underneath, and Gomes goes up, more importantly, and finishes the play with an interception.
Nebraska just goes straight to the run game. Up to about the 28-yard line. Roy Hellu Jr. had a chance to talk to him before the game. He said he's feeling a lot better. He's had this problem with the shoulder, and it looks kind of ginger there.
You're exactly right.
Said he had an AC joint problem and a stinger all in consecutive weeks.
And Ron, what you saw on the screen right there is that gets aggravated. It seems like every time he hits the ground, it looked like he wasn't in good shape coming off the sideline.
Well, he sets up second and short. Just about one. Cody Green looks, dumps it off to Trey Robinson. Robinson's first reception as a Nebraska Cornhusker. And that'll set up third down and short. Didn't gain anything on that play.
I think Trey Robinson, he was the outlet receiver on that swing route. Cody Green does a nice job looking downfield, coming off to the outlet. Trey Robinson has to duck his head and know where the first down marker is. He's a big back. He just kind of went out of bounds. Get up, Bill, to get that first down.
Well, Mike Hicks, the nickelback, made the stop. Now it's third down and one. Legate is the fullback. They get the one and then some. Robinson breaks into Baylor territory down to the 48-yard line. Jordan Lake finally corralling him.
Number 68, Keith Williams, he's the left guard. He pulls and leads this play and absolutely opens up the parting of the Red Sea right here. Keith Smith's going to come from that side. The big body gets upfield, gets squared, does a nice job of getting Robinson much more than just the foot that they needed to pick up that first down.
23 yards on the pickup, the longest of his career. Robinson this time stood up after a pickup of about 2 on the play. As we go inside 30 seconds remaining in the first quarter.
And Ron, I think Sean Watson right now is doing a nice job of getting Cody Green kind of settled into this game. It seems complicated what Nebraska's doing offensively. There's a lot of different personnel things going on, a lot of formationing, but the plays for Cody Green are still pretty basic in the run game and in the pass game.
This probably be the final play of the first quarter. Green fakes it, dumps it off. A lot of running room to Kyler Reed, the redshirt freshman out of Shawnee, Kansas, and that is a big gain. We'll call it 22 as Reed is down.
And he's holding his right knee. It didn't look like he was able to get his foot off the ground before he took that big hit.
And that'll be the end of quarter number 1. We'll take a break. Nebraska leads at 10-0, and we will update Reed's condition when we come back. Streak in Texas dating back to 2006 versus Texas A&M. Along with Lewis Johnson, Kelly Stauffer, I'm Ron Thulin, welcoming you back to Waco, Texas, where the Huskers lead at 10-0 as we begin quarter number 2. Cody Green, the freshman, hit as he throws it, has a man, and it is short. The fact that Cody Green even got rid of that football, Kelly, was pretty impressive.
Mike McNeil, that inside tight end, trying to get down the seam, and Cody Green under pressure, probably ill-advised to throw this considering the traffic, but you're right, Ron, it was amazing that he could get this much on it. This wasn't actually far from being a reception. He had McNeil down around the goal line. A good job of Cody Green just getting that ball off.
Nice pressure put on by Phil Taylor, the defensive tackle that transferred from Penn State. Now here's Robinson, tries to look for the outside and doesn't get it, but he does get down to the 20-yard line. Pickup of about 4 on the play. That'll set up a 3rd down and 6 situation for the Huskers. You know, we're seeing a young quarterback, obviously, as we see both teams with 5 first downs in Cody Green. But he's dealing with young wide receivers. Yeah. Does that hurt or help your maturation process?
It certainly doesn't help. I guarantee you that. As a quarterback, when you're learning things, you hope that things around you are stabilized. And right now, they're really not. And Sean Watson talked about that. And that was probably the hesitation to go in with Cody Green before. If you're young around the young quarterback, it makes things more demanding.
Niles Paul moving around as Green drops straight back, has a man, close to the first down, dropped at about the 13-yard line, is Kyrie Cooper, the redshirt freshman out of Shreveport, Louisiana.
That's one of those young receivers coming down, and he's just going to set. He's the outside receiver. He's going to eventually set down inside. That open window, you saw the defender move out of the way. That means you're now open. Stay there and let the quarterback have a defined throw. Cody Green does a nice job of putting it on Cooper.
Well, they're in the red zone, and versus BCS teams, Nebraska only 29% in this territory. Robinson getting the workload. We saw Roy Helu Jr. go off a few plays ago and didn't look completely healthy. And so Robinson's getting the workload. And this is an area that Nebraska has to improve on, Kelly, because you look in the last couple of games in the red zone, just 3 of 9, only 2 touchdowns in the last 2 games.
Yeah, a little over half the time they get down here, they get touchdowns, and that certainly isn't good enough. And in the games that they've lost, the Iowa State game, they fumbled the ball away in the red zone, and against Virginia Tech, they had trips to the red zone where they couldn't convert into touchdowns either.
Drew Young in motion, looking, thrown away. Pass was intended for Ben Cotton, the redshirt freshman out of Ames, Iowa, whose dad is Barney Cotton, the assistant head coach and offensive line coach for the Huskers. And Bo Pelini very secretive this week about Cody Green, saying we're not going to make a decision until game time, and we didn't find out till earlier this morning, so he was true to his word.
And I don't think there was really any benefit to making that decision earlier than this morning. Both quarterbacks got equal reps from what we understand in practice, so what's the difference? Make a decision on game day.
On 3rd down. Down to about the 5-yard line. They need to get 3. Cody Green showing his versatility. You know, we were talking to Mike Eckler, the linebacker coach, who actually was the man responsible for recruiting Cody Green to Dayton, Texas. He said Jerry Stewart, his high school coach, told him that at one playoff game, a semifinal, they were down at halftime. He said Cody Green got up in the locker room and said, guys, you got to get on my back. He is a competitor and he hates losing.
That's exactly, I think, what Nebraska needs offensively right now. That spark to try to ignite this offense to go with, I think, a championship-style defense.
And Alex Henry 2 for 2 today, 24 straight field goals made inside the 50-yard line, but they wanted the 7. They have to settle for 3, and they lead it by 13. Now the Nebraska contingent in full force, taking up about, I'd say, close to half the stadium when you look at both sides. And the Baylor fans hoping something good happens as they're also trying to snap a losing streak. And, of course, it is Halloween. And we'd love to show you the truck as our guys are all dressed up in Halloween cotton. Oh, no, that's the regular stuff.
Oh, that, yeah,
Sorry.
I was going to say.
My bad.
Didn't look any scarier than usual.
Now, Terrence Williams now standing back in his end zone, but so far Baylor been very unlucky trying to get Adi Kanalik, the sophomore, to kick a ball in play. Everyone's been out of the end zone. This one kicking against the wind is going to be short. Williams will take it. Boy, you can hear the pads popping up here. Able to get up to about the 20-25-yard line. That's where Baylor will take over. Along with Kelly Stauffer, I'm Ron Thulin. Now I think the question is, what have we seen so far? Because Baylor looked like they were starting to move the football, then nothing.
And then nothing. I think what Baylor's MO right now is they can't string together good plays and drive the football to get points. And I think that starts with the quarterback. Nick Florence isn't really doing anything drastically wrong, but he's not doing anything special either. The playmakers around him have to turn short passes into big chunks of yardage because they're not able to drive the football currently.
That's a question we asked at the top of the show. Where will Baylor get their points? Trying to establish some type of run game, which is so essential in an Art Briles offense, and Jay Finley gets nothing as Crick already with his 4th stop of the afternoon.
See, that's a problem against Nebraska in particular, is they like to really have a run fit with usually 5 guys. They're down 4 linemen and then a linebacker. It's usually Dillard that will fit into that run because they keep their nickel in most of the time. They're very difficult to run the football on.
Well, Baylor averaging about 46 yards rushing during Big 12 play. That will not cut it against Nebraska. They only allow 84 yards rushing in Big 12 play. Lawrence trying to string it out, and he's not going to outrun the defense. And again, it is Jared Crick. Let's check in with Lewis Johnson.
Hey, Ron, a few moments ago we saw Nebraska's tight end Tyler Reed come off the field limping. Well, a few moments ago the trainers got together. They had him on the bench. They were looking at that right knee, that right lower leg. Had a big discussion. Reed jumped up and was trying to move around, but he was still hobbling a bit, so not quite sure if he's coming back in the game. And one other quick update on Ray Helu, the running back. Pelini told me before the game, said, look, this guy's just a little beat up, like a lot of running backs are this time of the year, but he had a good week. They're hoping that he can continue throughout this game. That's what Pelini's expecting.
Well, he told me he had a lot of therapy throughout the week. Didn't practice as Kendall Wright tries to get the pass that was thrown behind him. Not able to snag it. You know, one of the things that Art Briles and everybody for Baylor was talking about as we see the job is that one thing about Nick Florence is he doesn't make the same mistake twice. And this young man is in the learning process right now.
Well, the mistake he's making is just not very... He hasn't been accurate thus far. He has open receivers, and Nick Florence knows it right there. The window of opportunity against Nebraska's defense is going to close quickly. And so he has to hit Kendall Wright in situations like that.
Well, this will be the third punt for Epperson. And again, great pressure. Nebraska getting close again. Here's Niles Paul from the 38. Gets the corner, tiptoes down, and finally cannot keep the toes in bounds. They'll mark him out at the 46-yard line. 38 yards on the kick, 17 on the return. Nebraska with good field position. Located in Waco, Texas is the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. And of course, if you talk Baylor football, there's the man that really built this program is Grant Taft. And George Foreman, an Olympic medal, heavyweight champion. And he makes a mighty fine grill, which is perfect with that shot, isn't it? Cody Green goes back to work. He's going deep down the far sideline, has a man, and it is caught. Niles Paul, 45 yards on the reception.
Just based on the formation, Cody Green knows that he has one-on-one outside, and Niles Paul just runs a go route. Gets quickly onto Atchison's feet, throws a nice ball over the shoulder. Cody Green threw that ball 50 yards in the air, flat-footed, and right on the money. Man, a big-time arm. And
I think Nebraska may be calling a timeout here. Niles Paul, said his goal for 2009 was to be dependable. We can see the career high last week versus Iowa State in the loss. Well, second time out called by Nebraska. But, you know, you go to talk about Bo Pelini and Niles Paul. Niles Paul came in at Nebraska, and he was, by his own admission, he was uncoachable. And he really didn't buy into things, and now he has.
Sean Watson talked to us about that earlier in the year when we were in there a couple of times, and it really has meant a lot to that receiving core to have a guy like Niles Paul buy into what Nebraska's now doing offensively. And he's probably the one target guy that they've been able to count on. But you really need a second, even a third that hasn't emerged yet.
Now this season, college football is on Versus.com. Sign up and play the College Football Pick'em Challenge. Compete against your friends for bragging rights, or see how you stack up against studio analyst Roland Williams. For everything college football, log on to Versus.com. First and goal, ball is on the 1-yard line after the big completion from Cody Green to Niles Paul. And they'll go from the I formation. Roy Helu Jr. back into the lineup. He's got the football. And that will be, they're signaling it down at about the 1-foot line. The linesman came in and was marking it probably 6-8 inches away from pay dirt.
I would expect Nebraska to just line up and do this again. They got big. The Tyler Legate, the fullback, is in there. You can see him kicking out. Haley jumps up inside. I did not see him come up short in that.
A little less than knee hit. Now Robinson in the I formation. Second and goal. Here's Robinson up over the top, and he is into the end zone. Touchdown. Well, Nebraska Nebraska fans around the state of Nebraska have to be cheering because this is a different Nebraska team today. You know, you and I were talking earlier in the week how we felt that maybe this Nebraska offense was just pressing a little bit too much with the young players. Young guys trying too hard, trying to make plays. As Henry gets the extra point. Perfect on the year. Big pass, set it up, Kelly.
Nebraska's been looking for that spark, and it appears that Cody Green is just that. The big play downfield to Niles Paul is the big chunk of yardage, and then Trey Robinson goes airborne to cash it in. Nebraska is finding a way to get it in zone today.
All right, thanks so much. Of course, you'll have us updating all the scores and highlights coming up at halftime. And you see Sean Watson is not up in the booth. The offensive coordinator is down on the sideline talking to Roy Hello Jr. and Trey Robinson, the true freshman out of Trinity High School in Euless, Texas. And the true freshman Cody Green. Impressive so far in this first half.
Yeah, really doing everything that's asked of him. He's making nice reads, being very decisive, which is the big thing for me as a young quarterback. You want to see him make good, quick decisions, and he's been doing that this afternoon.
This time, Canale's kick again is going to be short. It'll be Williams inside the 5. Right up the middle. Takes a hit, keeps moving up over the 30 to the 32-yard line. Justin Blatchford, who's got the blocked kick for a touchdown on the punt, in on the tackle. You know, we were talking about Iowa just a few moments ago. Iowa losing, and currently they're number 4 in the BCS standings. And you and I were talking during the break. And I love Kirk Ferentz, but they've kind of been living on fumes the last few weeks.
They really have. All the injuries at the running back position is their big issue, but really it comes down to Florida and Alabama are going to cannibalize themselves, and then if Texas can remain strong, that's probably your BCS championship game going forward.
Lawrence with a little razzle-dazzle shuttling it to Kendall Wright. Or check that. To Jay Finley. It's considered a run. Interesting play.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's exactly designed that way. Florence looked like he actually wanted to keep that ball, but saw Finley in the last second, threw it out to him. Not advised to do that often, but right now Baylor has to find something to get going.
Well, they've lost 22 straight games when trailing at halftime, and they're down 20-0 now. Florence looks, throws, short pass complete. Brad Taylor, the junior out of Madisonville, Texas, former quarterback himself. Let's check in with Lewis Johnson.
Guys, the Baylor defense down here trying to pull things together. Their defensive coordinator Brian Norwood had to kind of get the troops under control. A couple of guys upset when they came off the field, but he is coaching back and forth with his assistants. They're right now, body language says they're still in this thing, but they need to keep it close right now with the score 20-0.
That's a good report. Brian Norwood, there's no quit in him, and Jordan Lake telling me Thursday that there's no quit in this defense. He and Joe Pavelik, the leaders of this Baylor D. Back on offense. Lawrence keeps it. Boy, there is just not anything there. Philip Dillard coming up from that linebacker spot, who's one of the great stories this season, number 52. Began the year, wasn't even playing, was like third-team linebacker. Prior to the Virginia Tech game, they said, we need somebody out there that can play fast. They moved him from the Mike to the Will, and Kelly, the rest is history. He's
and what they did, Ron, is it freed up his mind. The Mike linebacker has so many responsibilities from the mental aspect of it. They free him up to the will, and he's been playing fast ever since.
If you were to define how to make a sack, ladies and gentlemen, that would be the video portion. Jared Crick had the blocker in front of him and just detonated him.
Well, if you can't beat the block outright, go ahead and just take him back to the quarterback with you. That's what Jared Crick decides to do right there. A good move, quick outside, and Jared Crick is starting to learn how to win next to Ndamukong Suh. All the attention that Suh gets, Crick understands he's going to be one-on-one. He beat the one-on-one right there, and the true freshman Ivory Wade, number 76.
Yep. Second sack of the afternoon for Crick himself. Lawrence has some time. Pass is intercepted. Prince Amukamara coming up with his second interception of the year, but Kelly, that pass was telegraphed.
quarterback Nick Florence certainly stares down this route from the beginning, and Amukamara is just going to break on it and actually beat the receiver to it. The receiver didn't do a very good job of coming back for that ball, but you can see the inside breaking route by Lanier Sampson, and Amukamara just read it quickly and broke over the top. That's one of those things that as a quarterback, Ron, you basically have to throw it on time. You're counting on your guy winning, and Amukamara won on that play.
A block punt and 2 turnovers as Hello is stood up, losing about 2 yards on the play. But this is a team that had not forced a turnover in the previous 2 games, so the defense stepping up even more so to the challenge.
You know, which is kind of strange because Nebraska, their pressure numbers are pretty good, and tackles for loss, pressuring the quarterback. You can't run the football on them. Generally, that also translates into taking the ball away. Nebraska probably is going to get takeaways in droves right now. That just seems to be the way it works.
Watson again using multiple formations. Here's Hello again. Cuts back over the 50, still on his feet. It's close to the 45-yard line. They'll mark him down at about the 46-yard line. And I'm sure that's a welcome sign to see that young man tote the pigskin like that.
Well, it's a good job of formationing by Nebraska. They come out real quick and go in a diamond set. They go big bodies, they're tight ends, and then they snap it quickly before the defense can really get a good look at it. And then it's not complicated from there. Just pitch it to their running back and let him get upfield.
That's 3rd down and short inside of 6 minutes left in the half. Trey Robinson back in the backfield. Nice job defensively by Baylor. Clifton Odom leading the charge from that quarterback spot.
Nebraska trying to run to the left edge, and Odom is actually a corner that sliced through from the backside. You don't just have to block the point of attack, you have to seal the backside and prevent leakage, and Odom made a nice play for Baylor on that one.
Chris Burks standing back at his 8-yard line awaiting Alex Henry's punt. Alex Henry came out as a walk-on, got his scholarship prior to the 2009 season, and this is a nice spiraling kick. And that'll be marked down at the 8-yard line. 15 inside the 20 this year. Baylor takes over. All right, thank you, Bill. Welcome back to Waco, Texas. 12th meeting between Nebraska and Baylor. Nebraska 10-1 versus the Baylor Bears. The only Baylor win was back in 1956. Now Baylor has the football with 5:02 left in the first half. Salubi with the run. Coming into that play, Baylor had only 69 total yards offense in this football game.
Yeah, Nebraska doesn't give up a whole lot, and the way they're doing it right now is a lot of times Nebraska, because of what Baylor's choosing to do, spread them out. They're in their nickel most of the time, 2 linebackers, 5 nickel backs, but those nickel backs have a good feel for the run game and have a good run fit early in this one.
3 wide receivers now to the left for quarterback Nick Florence, the freshman out of Garland, Texas. A little pitch to Kendall Wright. Look out. This could get ugly. Still on his feet, trying to make something out of it. Will be short of the first down, but he will pick up about 3 or 4 on the play. And Ndamukong Suh finally made the stop. You know, you talk about a guy that's a defensive tackle. He's playing like in a linebacker's body.
Well, another defensive lineman, 99, Barry Turner, did a nice job of actually forcing that play to have to go to that reverse mode. Does a nice job of contain, and then you're right. That shows the athleticism and the relentlessness that Suh plays with right now.
And Ernest Smith comes off the field. His left arm sort of dangling. We'll try to get an update on that. And we've got a whistle and timeout. Baylor, that'll be their second timeout. of the half. Let's go down to Lewis Johnson with somebody that, boy, we wish he was on the football field, Lewis.
Without question, Robert Griffin doesn't want to be here talking to me, but Robert tore the ACL. You had surgery on October 13th. You got the crutches. Where are you in terms of rehab?
Oh, right now I have about another week and a half on crutches. Then I'll be able to walk, and that's when the rehab will start getting tougher.
What do you expect to happen there?
You know, I expect to, be able to walk. First of all, that's a big thing, and then, just the battle to get back will be a little bit tougher from there on, but it'll be a battle worthwhile.
Nick Florence is going through a battle out there, the freshman quarterback. You've been talking to him back and forth through the 2 interceptions. How are you trying to help him?
I just try to tell him, he got to calm down, try not to telegraph his passes, and just go out there and have fun. He's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders due to me and, this whole team. But, he's just got to go out there and just be strong for the team and be a good leader. And finally, real quick, you were a star quarterback here, but quickly the game was taken away from you. Any lessons there in how fragile the sporting life can be? Just let you know that your career can be gone in a split second, and it helps you realize that academics are really important. And for me, it's always been big, but it could be a sign to anybody else out there that you got to get your academics taken care of. All right, good luck with that rehab. We look forward to seeing you back on the field. Thank you, sir. All right, Ron. Here's a guy that's a political science major and has law school in his sights. Junior in the classroom and a sophomore on the field.
Yeah, well, his mother, Jacqueline, and his father, Robert, they did a great job with this young man. They're military. And, we were kidding because we spent some time Thursday and also last night with Robert, but I can't even count how many yes sirs and no sirs he had in the conversation. What a great young man. 1st and 10 for Baylor. Ball now up on the 19-yard line, closing in on 3 minutes left to play in the opening half. Nebraska opened things up by blocking a punt in the opening quarter after Baylor's first possession. Took it in for a touchdown. Lawrence keeps it after the fake to Finley up to the 24-yard line. Pick up about 4 on the play. Cameron Meredith coming up to make the stop. The redshirt freshman out of Santa Ana, California. And there's the parents.
Great job with this young man. Absolutely.
And Jacqueline was there you go. Stand up, take a bow.
Very impressive.
Jacqueline was so sweet on Thursday, talking about how proud she is the way Robert's handling this.
And Mama's basically moved here to Waco. They're only 45 minutes away to make sure that he still is getting that knee taken care of, getting to the classroom. And Mom and Dad did a nice job with that young man.
Now Baylor trying to get something going offensively. Florence is going to air it out, looking for Kendall Wright. That's going to be pass interference, and that was very obvious, to say the least. Eric Haig looked like he just put the hand up and shoved little Kendall Wright out of the way.
Well, Haig had great coverage all the way throughout that play, and then when Haig looked back for the football, you try to keep track of that receiver. He just got a little too aggressive doing that.
Pass interference. Defense, number 28. Penalties 15 yards from the previous spot. First down.
Haig is one of those safeties that ends up outside, kind of bump and run man-to-man, a safety over the top. West is there to help him out, but you can see there's a tendency when you look back, Ron, you don't want to lose track of where the receiver is, but you don't have to stiff arm him and get him out of bounds, and he threw right to the ground, got called for the PI.
Well, Baylor's different than some teams. They like to force the one-on-one situations, then they just throw it up to their speedy receivers. Finley joins Florence in the backfield. They try to set up a little screen to Finley, and he's got it. Close to the 50-yard line. He'll be down to the 48-yard line. Baker Steingooler, little brother of Ty, although he's 3 inches taller than Ty on the stop.
That's the first time we've seen the true slip screen. The offensive line invites the rush and then lets the pass rush of that down 4 get to the quarterback, and then they slip out in front of the receiver. But I think that's a good job against Nebraska. Take advantage of their aggressiveness.
Only 10 points scored by Baylor in the first half in Big 12 play this year. Trying to change that. Florence, penalty flag goes. He cannot get to the outside, but he does get back to the line of scrimmage. And look who is chasing him down. My friends, he's 6'4", 300 pounds. It's funny talking to Carl Pelini. He says, I grade all the players, obviously, but
59 of the offense. Penalty would be 10 yards from the previous spot. Remains first down.
But he says that Ndamukong Suh grades himself lower than the coaches grade him.
The great ones do that. You're always looking for the little things, and just look at the effort. That's a big man, 300 pounds, chasing the quarterback to the sideline, and I mean, that's tremendous. When a big body can move that fast, that's what got me to the booth beside you a little bit earlier than I expected. When guys get that big and that fast, it's time to leave the game.
Well, Joe Gans used to call him Ducky after a movie character. But you and I have called him Mr. Sue since we first met him. Here's Geddes, surrounded by white jerseys, and he splits them. Get back to the original line of scrimmage. That'll be at the 48-yard line. Sean Fisher, the redshirt freshman out of Omaha, Nebraska. How many times have we said redshirt freshman or freshman today?
Yeah, that's what I don't know that many people really understand is how young Nebraska is. I mean, they have some young players on the defensive side, but they have a lot of young guys on the offensive side.
Well, Jared Salubi, they tried the little shuttle pass, and nobody was fooled on that play, including Jared Crick. And we had a little extracurricular activity. Jared Crick already 7 tackles, a pass broken up, and a couple of sacks.
And Jared Crick is the real deal and benefited, like we say, from playing next to Sue, who always gets double teams. But Cameron Meredith, number 34 for Nebraska, another defensive end. He's been the one in on the extracurricular activities after the last 2 plays. He's very active as well.
Final 50 seconds, 3rd down and 12 for the Baylor Bears. Little 2-step drop. Florence, no place to go. He just put his wide receiver in some danger. It was intended for Ernest Smith. Asante on the coverage. Want to remind you, live November 18th on Versus, a belt is on the line in the WEC. Can Mike Brown continue his reign as the #1 featherweight fighter in the world, or will #1 contender Jose Aldo dethrone the champ? Brown Aldo for the featherweight title, live November 18th, only on Versus. Final 42 seconds of the opening half. It has been all Nebraska. Baylor able to muster only 103 yards offense. Boy, they are so close every time Epperson punts. Here's Powell. And I think he called a fair catch. No, his knee hit the ground at about the 16-yard line, so that's where Nebraska will take over. If you were to grade Cody Green right now, what grade would you give him, my friend?
I'd give him a solid B. I think he really hasn't done a whole lot wrong. I think he's made some nice throws. He's really managed the offense, and I know that's an overused cliche, but when you have a young quarterback, that's what you want him to do initially, is just kind of manage the structure of what you're trying to get done offensively. Don't go outside of that, and then you can kind of reach out as you get more comfortable.
After scoring only 7 points, turning the ball over 8 times last week, Nebraska has played very well defensively and well offensively. They will head to the locker room with a 20-0 lead over the Baylor Bears. And Lewis Johnson is with Coach Bo Pelini.
Hey, Bo, what a difference a week makes. I know that the game is only half over, but you've created two turnovers instead of all you've given up. What are your thoughts?
We stressed it all week. We talked about it. We just played it better. We executed better. We had a better first half, and now we just got to put 60 minutes together.
And how about Cody Green at quarterback? Give us a quick thought on him, and do you stick with him, or do you put Zach Lee in sometime in the second half?
You'll probably see Zach at some point in the second half. Hopefully we can keep it going, keep the momentum going, and I thought Cody did well in the first half. He did some good things, and we just got to finish it off.
All right, Bo, we'll let you get to the locker room. Thanks a lot. Ron?
Well, October 21st, 2006 versus Kansas, the last time Baylor came back from a halftime deficit. They have since lost 23 consecutive games when trailing at intermission. Scored halftime, Nebraska leads at 20-0. Now let's join Bill Patrick, Roland Williams, Christian Fourier in our Versus studio with the Geico halftime show.